So like I was a little nervous because I got like terribly seasick last time. But
Terribly.
Like
as soon as I think we were the first ones to get in the cage, right?
I was fine until I had hot chocolate upon exiting the water.
Hello and welcome to the Worldwide Honeymoon Travel Podcast, the podcast that talks about all things couples travel, including destinations, tips, advice, and more. I'm Kat.
I'm Chris.
And this is episode number 224.
And we are back in South Africa.
Yeah, I mean, not currently, but this episode is in South Africa. Our prior episode was Victoria Falls, so talking about Zambia and Zimbabwe. And yeah, now we're going to get back into South Africa.
No disrespect to the studio here. This has been a great studio. We appreciate all the amenities that the studio hosts provide.
We both own this house that the studio's in.
And we have a variety of refreshments.
Okay.
Have you ever thought about recording like on the road? Like, is there ever a situation that you envision doing that? Because normally, like when we're traveling or when you're traveling, we will kind of get ahead of things and record maybe like 2 episodes in a week or something like that.
Yeah, and that's because, well, first of all, I'd have to pack all of the equipment that we have. Or I would have to purchase a pretty expensive, like, portable audio device to record and then figure out how to use that. So that's a whole other thing. Also, I would have to find time to edit it if we wanted it to come out. So I would just have to find time, like a day, set aside a day to record and edit podcast episodes while on vacation, which I'm fine with.
This is a very polite way of you telling me no.
I'm fine with it if it's like a long vacation. Like if we're spending like one day, if we're spending like a week in Paris or something and I just get up one morning and do it. But like not if we're like go, because a lot of these trips, we're not that we're necessarily going, but like we're kind of sneaking in adventure and like as well as relaxation, but it's a pretty full schedule that I don't necessarily have time to put a whole day to edit podcast episodes and do things like that.
Oh, no. I wasn't talking about like on like a trip that we're kind of like taking now, but like, do you ever envision like, let's say that one of my dreams, let's say that we spent a summer in Glacier. Okay. Are we recording like 12 episodes and getting 12 episodes ahead, or would you?
No, because if we're spending a summer there, I would probably be working.
That would be so dope.
So like we would record and do all that stuff there because I would probably be working.
Would you want to live in the same cabin the whole time, or would you want to get like our own cabins?
Like separate cabins?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
I'm just thinking to maximize my bear sighting opportunities.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. If you guys are new to this podcast, Christopher always says I am a curse when it comes to bear sightings because I have never seen a bear in the wild. Not without effort, because we have gone to the Smoky Mountains, we have gone to Shenandoah, we have gone to Glacier, and spent quite a bit of time. And I've never seen a bear in the wild.
Did you ever see a bear growing up? I know I've asked you this before.
I don't think so, but I don't really know.
So hold on. Here's the question. Have you ever seen a bear that is not in captivity?
I don't think so.
Dang.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, that's not like a strange thing in and of itself, but like you guys would go to the Smokies a lot as a family when you were younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you are the bear curse.
I don't remember. Maybe I saw a bear as a kid. I don't necessarily
That's
remember
fair because
every second of my childhood.
I remember going to I remember like seeing a bear as a child in Denali. And like I can picture it, but that was also like one of those experiences where I was like, hold on, this is like so much more epic when I'm not looking through a pane of glass. Mm-hmm. Right? Or there's like a ravine in front of me and like a plaque telling me its like scientific name to the left. Yeah, I don't know. We will find a bear. I would never get a separate cabin than you. That would be
I
terrible.
hope not.
No, that would be awful. I
Well,
would never do
considering when we were in Queen Elizabeth National Park last year, and you guys can go back and listen to that episode in Uganda, they accidentally gave us 2 twin beds in our tent. Instead of one big full size or queen size bed. And the people there were like, oh, we can push the beds together so you guys can like sleep together and stuff. And Christopher was like, oh no, it's going to be great. I'll have like the best night's sleep.
I will say that.
Meanwhile, I had the worst night's sleep because this tent was, it was still glamping. By no means was it like roughing it, but it still was like a tiny bit of canvas. And then most of it was just screen. And that's all that was protecting us from the wilderness outside and all the animals. So I was like very nervous because there was a lot of sounds happening very close to our tent at night. And I was like, there is not much keeping us away from them.
This was at Ishasha Wilderness Camp in Queen Elizabeth. I loved that. I still think that may be my favorite like lodge that we've stayed at.
Simbavati is still my top.
I love Simbavati, but there was something about Ishasha. There's something about the fact that like there is a screen separating you from like that Cape Buffalo that you see, where it's like, you know what, I'm in this.
Yeah,
that was pretty sweet. And I did have a very nice night of sleep.
I know,
but yeah,
I'm happy for you.
Thank you. I hope you're happy too.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Well, speaking of wild animals or seeing animals in the wild, we're going to talk today about seeing marine animals.
Well, hold on. What was your highlight?
Oh, my goodness. My highlight was, I would say, this is silly. Well, it was great. We went to a wedding this past weekend, and then we celebrated Father's Day with your dad, which was great. But getting Professor back after 3 weeks, he's been staying in his vacation home, aka Chris's parents' house, and they have absolutely loved him. We always know he's in good hands there, but it was
not just good hands, but like all-inclusive butler service, no pun intended hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, they dote on him. So we know he's always in great hands when he's over there. So, but it was very nice to have him back.
It was.
And it's so great to have our little buddy back, our cat.
Our family's complete.
Yeah, our family's complete again.
Yeah, my highlight was also last weekend. It was just a great weekend, right? Mm-hmm. We saw friends, some that we have not seen in a few years. Mm-hmm.
Watched one of your best friends from college get married.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And
Spoiler.
No, and I always love weddings. Mm-hmm. I am a notorious crier at weddings. I don't know. I love. Mm-hmm. And it's always a big honor to be asked to stand up in someone's wedding. Mm-hmm. So, beautiful wedding, beautiful ceremony, great. Just a fantastic time. And then putting that into Father's Day, we went from friends to family. And then, like you said, getting Professor back as well was pretty tight.
Buddy.
Yeah.
He's always in here while we're recording the podcast too, usually sleeping on the bed. And when he's not doing that, he is getting into everything and we have to stop recording and get him settled. And then...
Is he a credited co-host on this?
Pretty much.
He
certainly tries to make appearances in it.
Does he have
sometimes.
a line item?
No.
Man, roll the credits.
Cat and Chris and Professor.
Chris and 2 cats.
Okay.
Alrighty.
All right.
Like you mentioned.
Speaking of wildlife. We're actually talking about marine wildlife today.
Yes. So when we originally went to South Africa in 2017, Kat and I went shark diving in Gansbaai with Marine Dynamics. Mm-hmm. This time in 2023, we went with your parents, mm-hmm. and you and your mom opted for the whale watching and the marine tour. And
so it's called the Marine Big Five Tour.
The Marine Big Five Tour.
Yeah, because there's a Marine Big Five.
Your dad and I opted for shark cage diving.
Yes. So my mom was more into wanting to see the marine wildlife and cruising around, and dad was more into doing the shark cage diving. And we're like, okay, well, I'll go with mom. And you were like, I'll shark cage dive again, because your first time around wasn't the best.
Well, let's get into that.
So we'll get into that in a minute.
Yes.
So you were like, oh, I'll give this another try.
So today we're going to talk all about our different excursions and recommendations, reflections, all that good stuff. So why don't you talk about your thoughts prior to going whale watching? How are you getting prepared here?
Well, I don't get motion sickness typically. So not a lot of preparation on my end. I just wanted to make sure I had my camera equipment and a dry bag to put said camera equipment in.
Dry bag is a great point.
Yes, a dry bag is very helpful because, I mean, nothing got wet, but sometimes things can get wet. I mean, it could be raining, different things like that. So having a dry bag is just always a good idea when you're wildlife watching and you're outside, that you can put it in to keep it dry. But yeah, prepping for it, my thoughts prior to.
Yeah, thoughts prior. Yeah.
So yes, I had done the shark cage diving. I was like, okay, I've been there and I've done that. It was great. It definitely gave me a newfound respect for sharks, especially great whites, because that's what we saw at the time. But I was really excited to get the chance to see various species. Like we went to Dyer Island, so like I knew that we were going to do that and go see the seals. We were going to try to go whale watching and see the southern right whales. So I was very excited to see what these animals look like up close and to watch that. So I was really, really excited for that. It was sort of my thoughts prior, but I was nervous because southern right whales only come to that area for breeding season during a certain time of year, which I believe is like June through November. I could be wrong on that, the exact dates, but we were going at the very beginning of June. So already ahead of time, I was like, okay, it's not like they have a calendar and they're like, oh my gosh, it's June. We got to get down there. You know what I mean? Like the whales, they're wildlife. They're going to do what they want.
Pack it up, kids.
Yeah, they while they follow patterns, it's not like they follow it to the day. You know what I mean? So of course I was a little nervous thinking, I wonder what we're going to see. I doubt we're going to see any whales, especially southern right whales, which is what I really wanted to see because they're famous in that area of South Africa. So, yeah. And then I knew we were going to do, watch penguins and things like that. So I don't know. I guess I kind of thought we'd see that, but I wasn't sure if we were going to see much, of the whales, particularly the southern right whales.
Kept your expectations low.
Yes, I did keep them low because I knew it was the beginning of the season.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, you did mention yours was called the Marine Big Five Tour. Mm-hmm. What are the Marine Big Five?
Yes, so the Marine Big Five are whales, sharks, dolphins, penguins, and seals.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Just so that everyone's on the same page.
So the tour is an attempt to see all five of those. Yeah.
Dang. Mm-hmm. All right. My thoughts prior. I'm nervous. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I remember when we were planning this trip.
Not for the sharks,
Not for the sharks. Not for the sharks. I think my risk tolerance is way too high. This is something that you and I talk about a lot.
We've done it before.
But this is also...
I wouldn't be nervous to do shark cage diving again because sharks aren't just like mindless man-eating creatures. They're curious, but they're not...
So here's something
they're not like these cold, calculated beings. They're actually very intelligent and they're just curious. And that's what I experienced the last time I went. So I don't think I would be afraid to see them again. Yeah.
No. That was not the reason I was nervous.
I know.
and to go just to kind of put a little bow on that, the introductory video was all about like education on sharks, and that was the exact message, right? Like they are intelligent. They're
beings.
Intelligent. Yeah, I was going to say beings,
Creatures,
but I was like...
animals.
Yeah, they're intelligent life forms.
Yeah.
They're not cold, calculated killers. More people will die by dog bite.
I think in toasters.
And toasters than sharks each year. Isn't that wild? Toasters. Yeah. Guys, if you're going to use... It's not to say
it doesn't happen.
If you're going to use a fork or a knife to take the bread out of your toaster, unplug it. I mean...
Alrighty.
There we are.
Well, but yeah, with sharks, I think of course, there are certainly some tragedies with them and interactions and stuff. But for the most part, if they do bite, it is because they are curious and they don't know what you are and they accidentally bite you, which isn't great. But
that's exactly why I put on my I put it on my chest and my back. I am not a seal. That way, just to kind of clear up any confusion.
But there's people that actually dive with sharks.
Yeah.
Just free dive with sharks.
Is that something you would do?
It depends on the shark. I don't think I would do it with great whites.
Oh my gosh. Sign me up.
I would do it with like nurse sharks or like reef sharks or something like that where they're used to humans because like there's people diving there all the time, but I don't know.
Can I tell you a funny story from my childhood about sharks?
Sure.
So, we, as you know, we had a 55-gallon freshwater fish tank growing up. It was really sick. We had tons of beautiful fish. My dad did just an absolute amazing job taking care of this fish tank.
Yeah, he used to have so many fish tanks, his dad. I think he's slowly retiring. He's letting all the fish die out now.
Yeah.
I mean,
not
he's taking
purpose.
care of them, but let them,
right.
Die of natural causes. But he's slowly condensing his collection of aquariums.
At the heyday of the 55-gallon, like this thing was epic. So I remember he said that we are getting a shark for this tank. And like my small brain is thinking, this is sick. It ended up being like
were those this little 5-inch sharks?
Yes, and it was a little, I think it was called a red tip-tailed shark or something. It was, I remember it was red and black. Yeah. But still, I was like, that's awesome. So when you were like, oh, it depends on the type of shark, that's immediately what popped into my mind.
Yeah, I'd swim with so many of those.
Yeah,
easily.
exactly. Alrighty. So yeah, my thoughts prior. I was nervous. I had a less than enjoyable time in 2017 due to self-inflicted reasons. I was like, when we were talking about this trip and I was like, oh, you should ask your dad if he wants to go shark cage diving. And it was one of those situations where as soon as the words left my mouth, I'm thinking, you idiot. And I'm trying to catch them in the air before you can hear them. And then he was like, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I guess you could have gone whale watching with Mom.
No. I mean, it sounded like a lot of fun, but like,
it was a lot of fun. I'm glad I tried something different.
Yeah. But so like, I was a little nervous because I got like terribly seasick last time. But
terribly, like as soon as I think we were the first ones to get in the cage, right?
I was fine until I had hot chocolate upon exiting the water.
Because they give you tea or hot chocolate, and Christopher had a little bit of hot chocolate, and then he was on the side of the boat the rest of the time. And
yeah,
I got to go in twice.
Okay.
Because I was like, oh, are you okay? And you're like, oh, I'm fine. Like, you go. And I was like, okay. And then I got it again.
Yeah. So I was a little nervous about that. I was also a little bit nervous about great white sightings because they have become more rare since 2017 because of orcas.
And orcas are taking their revenge on the ocean lately.
Hold on.
Have you seen that?
Not revenge, but like orcas are just out of control.
They're just, whew.
They need to calm down.
They need to calm down. I don't care if they want to sink a bunch of yachts. No, I'm just kidding.
That's what they're going after. Have you seen that?
I'm kidding. First of all, off of like the coast of Spain, I think there's other places too. Orcas are just going ham. Apparently there's like a rumor that one of the female orcas got hit and this is her revenge, and she's taught everyone to like attack the crap out of these boats.
No, but orcas
But they're going to take a boat down.
Number one, orcas are incredibly intelligent.
Oh my gosh,
Incredibly intelligent.
Super smart.
Number two, the way that they kill a shark, great white,
yeah,
is that they will latch onto it, flip it upside down, so that the water can't get in their gills, so that the shark ends up essentially suffocating. Then what they will do is eat the liver only and let the body go up.
So wasteful. So
during our intro video, they were talking about how they had seen like great white carcasses.
Yes, and this is happening specifically in South Africa.
Yeah.
The great white sharks, there used to be, I don't know if y'all have watched Shark Week in the past, but it used to be a huge thing. Like, this is the place where you go to, the Shark Alley with because you have the huge seal island there. And, yeah, you have the great white sharks hunting the seals. And they're very numerous in that area because of the seals. And they have become less and less simply because of the orcas hunting them in that area.
Great whites and yachts.
Great. That's their forte is great whites and yachts.
But yeah, they were talking about that in the intro video where they had carcasses like wash up, and they could tell that it was a great white attack because it was just a like a laceration, and then the liver was gone. Which, I mean, it provides nice opportunity to research sharks because you have like an entire carcass of a shark.
Did you know sharks don't get cancer?
I did know that.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
That is wild. So I think they're researching it because of that.
That is exactly correct. Yeah. But yeah, so I was also a little nervous because like your dad and I are going down there. We want to shark cage dive. I want to make sure that like he's having a good time, right? And but yeah, like great white behavior has changed. What were your first impressions on your Marine Big Five tour?
Well, the boat's a little bit... Actually, it's the same size boat because they do have an upstairs and a downstairs and everything. But first impression, I mean, I did know that we were going to have a marine biologist on the boat because Marine Dynamics does a really great job about that. They're not sponsoring this episode. Safari 365, though, shout out. We've worked with them for this, and they did plan this for us on our request.
Marine Dynamics.
But Marine Dynamics is great.
They are a fantastic company.
Yes. They have a marine biologist on each boat.
Yeah.
So you have one for the shark cage diving to explain sharks, and they're very educational about it. And then they also have tons of fun facts that they talk about for all of the Marine Big Five. Yeah, and then they actually take notes, too, because they're studying these animals. So, yeah, so I knew that we were going to have that. Yeah, I was just excited to hopefully see the Big Five. And, yeah, part of me was like, okay, I kind of went into it like, I don't know, feeling like I'm probably not going to see all of the Big Five, which is what ended up happening. But yeah, we can get into that later. So I guess my first impressions are like, I mean, I kind of know the launch pad area because we went there last time in 2017.
Right,
it's the same area. We didn't have like a big intro, thing that we did because we're not getting in the water. We're just on a boat.
Yeah.
So I guess that was something that was different than last time, was the fact that we just kind of like filed in. We did. I mean, I guess there was a small presentation about like the animals we're hoping to see and that sort of thing. And then you kind of got your jacket, got your life vest, and then we just went straight to the boats. But first impressions, I mean, it's kind of similar to last time. Only this time we're not getting in the water, and we're going to go see some various kinds of marine wildlife. What about you? What are your first impressions?
My first impressions are here we go again. Right? Like... Yeah. I am on this boat. I have not eaten anything all day since dinner the night before.
Mm-hmm. For fear of getting sick.
Right. And I mean, I'm just soaking it up, right? Like 5 senses. You're seeing the water. You're seeing the boat go up and down and up and down. I'm hearing the boat crash against the waves.
Oh, sorry. Not to interject, but I'm going to interject. As a first impression, she did talk about motion sickness and like obviously don't go inside of the boat further, just be on the outside parts just to get fresh air. I had the tiniest bit of motion sickness at the very beginning. I didn't get sick, but
really?
I felt it was kind of like a weird nauseous thing because we were rocking pretty well on that boat. And then I kind of got used to it and it was fine. But yeah, so I did experience sort of what you did in 2017.
You may be interested in one of my recommendations later.
Okay, we'll continue with what you were saying.
So, yeah, we're rocking. There's the smell of chum, right? I mean, if they could put that in a candle, who wouldn't buy that? We are watching...
Cats will love you.
Right? We're watching seagulls eat salmon from the boat, which was pretty cool. But yeah, really, I mean, nothing beats just like a ball of nerves in your stomach. Thick, chummy air and choppy seas. And then, like, if that is not enough,
I can't imagine why anyone would get sick with all of that combination.
right? If that isn't enough, let's no longer be comfortable in our own clothes and get into quite possibly the world's tightest wetsuit, right? So, like, now I can't quite get as deep of a breath of that chummy air.
Didn't you give them your size beforehand?
I did, but they're tight. I mean, they don't want you to swim around in it, right?
No, that's true.
Like,
they want it to be like, you know,
Yeah,
and it's got to be thick because you're going into pretty cold waters. Because if you don't know, in May, which is when we went, it's the start of winter in South Africa. I mean, it's not freezing cold like snow and stuff, but it's chilly.
Yeah. But first impressions in the water, right? Like, so they're handing out wetsuits. I've been in a wetsuit before. I'm able to put that on fairly quickly. Not to brag. But they're asking for volunteers. Like, who wants to go in the first cage? Hand up, right?
You're like,
always,
just like last time.
Yes. Go in the first cage. Go in. Because then you do not have any sort of barometer or baseline as to how long any other cage has stayed in the water. So they're going to keep you in there until you see some pretty cool stuff.
I didn't know that. I thought they just kept it at the same time.
Nope.
Huh.
Nope. Right? And like, marine dynamics could be like, well, actually 27 minutes is like that. But like, that's not what happened. We were in there. They're still chumming the water and everything. I am trying to breathe and not drink as much salmon oil as I can, unsuccessfully. My skin was glistening after this. But yeah, we were in there for quite a bit because as they're attracting sharks, they're trying to see are they going to see a great white, right? First impressions, as soon as you get in the water, it is game time. It is awesome. Get in that first cage. Did you want to talk a little bit about Marine Dynamics overall? I mean, they are a fair trade tourism company. Like you said, there's a marine biologist on every trip, which is really cool because
you learn a ton.
Yeah. Like, you're not in the water during your trip. We were in the water, but you're also out of the water when other people are in the water. So there's a lot of, I mean, if you see an animal, they will start telling you not only are they able to identify that animal based upon like what species it is, right? But also based upon the name of it because they can see like the dorsal fin if it's a shark. And they're like, oh, yeah. Like, that's the pattern of, I don't know, Catherine, right? And they know that Catherine has like then been in the area. But yeah.
Yeah, because some familiar ones, they have names for it.
They do,
that they've just seen. Yeah.
Exactly. But just kind of an overview of the shark diving trip, and then I'm sure you have one as well for the Marine Big Five, is it's a 20-minute boat trip out from dock. You have approximately 2 hours where you're anchored, and then about a 20-minute boat ride back. The cost for this is $150 per person, which is inclusive of, I mean, they provide a towel, they provide a wetsuit, they provide goggles, they provide refreshments on the boat, they provide refreshments when you get back beforehand. So it's a steal.
Yes, and for the Big Five tour, I think it's about $100, and it does include a jacket, like a waterproof jacket. So it is going to be cooler out there than it is on shore. So wear warm clothing, but also they provide the jackets, and again, the service to get out there. But for the Marine Big Five, it's kind of like going on safari in that you don't know what you're going to see at any given point. So instead of going out anchoring and then coming back, this is, you're going to be going out a little bit, and then once you start finding things, you're just going to start following it until it starts swimming away, and then you just let them go because we're not trying to get our boat taken by the orcas. No, so you kind of observe them at a distance and then sort of, try to find them again, but if not, you just let it go. So it was about 2.5 to 3 hours is the total of the tour. It just kind of varies based on what you're seeing at the time. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes for
Did you see
Big
things?
Five.
Did you see things pretty quickly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a guaranteed sighting of the seals because I'll get into that later about Dyer Island.
So here's kind of my next question for you is, as someone who did not go on the Marine Big Five tour, kind of walk me through what I could expect.
Okay, so you get out there, you do have the marine biologists on there to answer your questions, but they also tell you lots of different facts about the animals and all of those things. So we have the Marine Big Five, as I've already said, dolphins, penguins, sharks, whales, and seals. And so you depart from that harbor. I would say it was probably in the first 15 minutes or so, we saw our first sighting, which were penguins in the water swimming around, and they were very, very cute. And so we'll stop there for a little bit, watch them swim around, sort of follow them a little bit, and then go on our way. And then we saw after that we saw a bride's whale, or brooder's whale, I guess is how they pronounced it.
There's 2 of 5.
Yeah. So we saw that. So we were hearing some facts about that. And then we saw something.
Hold on. Can I ask you a question about
Yeah.
that? So a brooder's whale or a bride's whale.
Yeah.
How big are we talking?
I mean, I don't have the exact feet. I mean, it's
Did you see the tail? Did you see the body?
both. I mean, because they sort of kind of go up and arch.
Breathe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you see it all. So
Were they bigger than Southern Right?
no,
Okay.
not
Okay.
at all. They were probably maybe the size of an orca, little size.
I mean, can we just agree that it all comes back to orcas?
It does. So we did see that. We saw the lighthouse just from afar that was nearby.
Not part of the Marine.
Not
Big
part of
Five.
the Marine Five. And then we saw something pop out of the water further out. And they were like, all right, let's go. So kind of like on safari when you're,
Hold on.
gunning it to get there.
How fast is this boat going?
I mean-
Because I'm picturing like, all right, go. And then it's just like...
No. I mean, it was a good speed. They make you sit down whenever they're like,
Oh, okay.
actually going. So we
Okay.
sat down and we're hanging out there. And that's when we saw a pair of southern right whales. And
That
I
is
was
awesome.
so excited. They're massive. And their mouths kind of like, I think this is like a natural thing, but they almost look like barnacles all over their top of their mouth, but that's like a natural thing. And they all have very different ones. I guess it's like a fingerprint for them along their mouth. And they're massive. They're very, very large. And they travel in, or at least this one was traveling in a pair. I believe they do travel in pairs.
Not pods.
We didn't see a pod. I mean, I think they have like their mate and then like keep going.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Sure.
There is a South African wine label called Southern Right.
And I think they're from Hermanus, aren't they?
I believe they are, if I'm remembering correctly. But they, I mean, we've had a few of their wines, all very good. But it has a nice little whale picture on the front.
Yes, and they're so cool. We saw them. We hung out with the Southern Right whales for a long time because I think everyone was like, wow, this is so exciting because this is sort of like, I think they saw a couple of them a few weeks beforehand.
Oh my gosh.
And that was it. So they were very like, we're very lucky we got to see this.
Did they say, out of curiosity, like how big a Southern Right is compared to like a humpback or like a sperm whale or anything like that?
I mean, I think they did. I don't remember the exact length.
You're too excited.
I was honestly very excited in photographing the whales. And it was really cool because you could tell when they were going to dive deep because that's when they sort of go whoop and then they have their tail up in the air. And that's when you know they're going to dive deep.
Had you seen whales before? Had you been on like a whale watching thing before or no?
No.
Oh, that's, yeah.
So this was the first whale I think I've ever seen in person.
No way.
And I was so excited. Like both mom and I were like freaking out. We were so excited.
Now, your mom and dad went whale watching in Hawaii, right?
I don't remember.
I
know they're going to in Alaska.
I know they're going to in Alaska.
But I don't know. But it was really cool to see them.
Okay.
They were massive.
She was excited as well.
Yeah, and it was cool because they come up and they like blow their air out and then they like swim around. So we followed them for a long time, just admiring them. And then eventually as they started getting further out, we were like, okay, well, it's time to go. That was probably the highlight, was getting to see that. Followed by, after that, we head towards Dyer Island. And if you can imagine, a 60,000 seal population, you are guaranteed a seal sighting. They were like, if all 60,000 of these seals disappear, something is terribly wrong.
The antelope of the marine
Even
Big
the
Five.
orcas can't chase out these seals. So we went to see the Cape Fur seals, which are 60,000 plus strong, all over this rocky island. And when I tell you, like, you can't even see the ground. There are so many seals. They're sunning, they're fighting, they're doing all sorts of things. The younger ones are swimming in the water, and the water was so clear that you could see them swimming around in the water, and it was really cute. So they'd kind of come up to the boat and then swim away, and they're playing in the water, and they're doing all sorts of things. So that was really, really fun. So we did see the penguins, the whales, the seals, and then then you go over to where you guys are, where the sharks are, and they're like, okay, well then we'll get to go see the sharks. When I went earlier in the morning, because our tours were a bit staggered, so you guys went after us.
Yes.
For the shark cage diving, we saw bronze whaler sharks. So we did get to see some sharks while we were there. There was also a very brave seal just hanging out with the sharks, swimming around by himself. And I was like, okay. So we saw that. We saw a couple bronze whaler sharks, and then that was kind of the highlight of what we saw. We did see penguins again, a little bit further out from the seals. But yeah, we got to see 4 of the big 5. We did go to an area that's a little bit like a murky, marshier sort of area, kind of an estuary. And that's where they'll sometimes have dolphins, but it just wasn't the right time of year for it. So they were like, we might see it, we probably won't. And we didn't, which I'm not too sad about that because I've gone like dolphin watching tours before. So like,
yeah.
I've seen dolphins before, but seeing a huge thing of whales or seeing like whales and
get wrecked
seals,
dolphins.
No, I would have been cool to see all 5 in this one tour, but getting 4 out of the big 5 of the marine animals, that was pretty epic.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've both left from this harbor before. Mm-hmm. Are you going left or right?
I want to say we went right.
Okay.
And that's where we saw the penguins. But again, it's sort of where the wildlife is sort of where you go.
Sure.
It's not a set path or like place. Like you guys are going to a specific area.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus we're not.
Cool.
So
that sounds like a great...
Or penguins, we went right for them. You know?
Yeah. Did you see them in the water or on
in
land?
the water? They were swimming.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
we also saw them in... Well... Spoilers. We also saw them in the water.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun.
How much was it per person for the Marine Big 5 tour?
I already said it was $100. So 1,800 rand or $100 per person for the Marine Big 5 tour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Let's talk about all the details of yours.
Yeah. So when I last left you, I was breathing in chummy air. No. So like I said, it's a 20-minute boat ride out, approximately 2-hour anchor, 20-minute boat ride back. You're pretty much, I mean, they have, I will say, like foldable benches, right? Like benches that you can open, you can put your stuff under there.
Yes, we had that too.
Yes.
Which I put like my camera and stuff in when I wasn't using it.
Yeah, it's going to get wet. Right, like your recommendation earlier, bring a dry bag, is a good recommendation.
I would say we did not get as wet, but we also didn't get in the water, so that makes a difference.
Right, everyone's walking around in wetsuits. Everyone's getting wet. So I will jump to the part where we are in the water. Mm-hmm. Okay, you are in a cage, but the cage is attached to the boat. So kind of the best way to think about this is, if you are familiar with a suet bird feeder.
That is oddly specific.
Well, you know how it's a large square cage.
Yeah.
Right? That is what is going over the boat. And then there is a bar to hold on to.
And they put weights on you too, so that you can...
They do.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
Diving weights.
Let me back up to the boat.
They're not just putting a kettlebell on you.
They are not putting a kettlebell or bell on you. Right. So I am in my wetsuit. I raise my hand that I would like to be in the first cage. Your father is now also in the first cage by virtue of association.
I'm sure he appreciated that.
He did. Well, I don't know if he did.
I know the videos of him. He's cackling. I haven't seen my dad laugh so much than during this trip.
You're welcome.
Like, whether he's getting completely soaked by a waterfall at Victoria Falls.
Also, you're welcome.
Or shark cage diving. The man was
Right.
cackling the whole time.
We had a great time together. So you have your wetsuit. They are going to provide you wetsuit and goggles. They also will put a weight over you so that you don't have to like worry about slowly bobbing to the surface.
And that's, if you guys have dove before or something like that, like, yeah, that's a pretty typical thing to have weights put on you because it helps, make you a little less buoyant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're in the cage. They have a bar that you can hold on to. They have a bar that you can put your feet on. And that's pretty much what you're chilling in, right? Like, it's a fairly thin cage. There were, I want to say, 8 to 10 people. And that's it. And you're all kind of standing on
each round. Yeah.
Right. At each round. And they will say, shark, 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 like look left or look right. So you know to go down and look left or look right. I will say that, I mean, they're wild animals, right? You have no idea what they're going to do. So they could be yelling like, look left, look right, look left. Because like it's like going left, it's going right, it's going left. It does not hurt to be able to hold your breath for quite a while. Because then you can stay underwater more. Like I've said, they're chumming the water. So it's not the clearest water. There's a lot of little floating salmon bits. There's a lot of salmon oil going through it.
You're going to want to shower after.
You're going to want to shower. I was wearing...
You're going to smell a little bit after as well.
Well, I was wearing what I thought was a very attractive cologne after with that salmon oil. But yeah, really, you're just you're hanging out, you're holding your breath for as long as you can. You're popping up and you're waiting for them to tell you, hey, there's another shark approaching. I mean, really... just amazing. It's not a full underwater experience. You don't have a scuba tank. You're not going in one of those tanks that's like, it almost looks like a shower stall where you're going down and there's a chain that's attached to a boat.
And you're actually scuba diving. I think that's off of the coast of Mexico.
I think so too.
They do that where you're pretty deep.
The cage is always attached to the boat. Mm-hmm. They do record video for purchase, which I believe is approximately $10, $15, $20, somewhere in there.
Yeah, they did the same for ours as well.
They did.
Yeah.
Not expensive. There is they have this down, right? They are recording video. My recommendation is to just go down and enjoy.
Yeah, because we used our GoPro last time we went shark cage diving.
Footage.
Well, it just we didn't get anything really good. Honestly, your best photos and video are going to be when you're not in the cage.
Whoa.
Well, that's just a pro tip. And then while you're in the cage, just enjoy it. Just be in the moment and watch it. Absolutely enjoy it.
So there was a guy from Spain who was in our cage, and he said that he was like, I'm trying to like film and all of that, and like
in Spanish.
No,
I didn't know if it was like, oh, Christopher, you and your Spanish.
No. Sorry. He was talking in English, but he was saying, yeah, I was like trying to record it, and then I realized that I'm just watching a shark through a phone, right? Rather than the shark being like 2 feet from me. So my recommendation there is don't bring a GoPro, don't bring your phone, just enjoy it. And if you want to kind of get that footage to show other people or what have you, pay the $10, $15, whatever it is.
I say it was only $10.
It was cheap.
If you want to film it from the boat, because honestly, it's so much better. Like you get better footage when you're, if you go to the top part of the boat and you film it there.
So I'm getting there, right? So when you're in the cage, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, we had sharks come up. We had sharks slap the cage with their tail. I mean, you are close. We had sharks that were curious about the cage. We had a seal that was very curious about the cage.
Yeah, that seal was still there. And what sharks did you see?
So we saw both bronze whalers and great whites.
Which was rare. They were very excited.
Incredibly rare. They were they were beside themselves about seeing the great whites. Your dad and I actually got to go in a second time, which is another recommendation for be in the first cage, because if you're in the first cage, the water isn't chummed up as much, right? Like there's not salmon oil floating. Your lips aren't quite moisturized from it. But you're in there. They're trying to move the groups through a little bit. Our boat had 3 groups, and we were the only group as the first one that was not in the water when a great white approached. So what they did is they said, let's get that first group back in the water and see if a great white is going to come back.
And you guys also saw a stingray, didn't you?
The earlier group saw a stingray.
That's right, because I think we were there when the earlier group saw the stingray.
Yes.
Because it was kind of like when we went our first time where a giant stingray, like a huge stingray, was trying to eat the salmon heads.
Yes. So that's what I was telling your dad about that. Like, we did not see a stingray.
So we saw it when we were there.
But yeah, enjoy the ride. It's pretty sweet. On the way back, we also saw penguins. So we saw 2 of the Marine Big Five. Oh. Do you have any recommendations? Kind of like looking back, reflecting, anything that you would want to make sure that you mention that you haven't mentioned for the Marine Big Five tour?
I think that if you can't decide between the 2, go for the Marine Big Five tour. If your goal is to see as much wildlife as possible, not just the sharks, do the Marine Big Five, because you will go to where they are doing the shark cage diving and see sharks. It's not guaranteed, but for the most part, we definitely saw a couple of sharks while we were there. But then we also got to see the southern right whales, which you didn't get to see up close, and the seals up close, like the whole island. So that was really cool, as well as a brooder's whale / bride's whale. So that was really nice to get to see. But if you want to go and you really want to experience the thrill of being within a foot or 2 of a great white shark or any kind of shark, then do the shark cage diving. Yeah.
My recommendations are, let me think here. Number 1, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. Do not bring your phone in the water. Don't bring a GoPro in the water. You have said it. I have said it. You're going to get your best shots from the boat.
Yeah, just enjoy it.
Enjoy the time in the water and get your best shots from the boat.
And I'll talk about this in another episode about Puerto Rico, because I definitely have a lot to talk about when it comes to Puerto Rico. But when it comes to the Bio Bay, don't even try. Like, because it moves so fast.
I did ask you for pictures, and I was like, can you send me them? And you sent me them, and I was like, oh.
It's like almost impossible to get really good photos of the bioluminescent bays. So it's just nice to sort of enjoy it and be in the moment, because it just happens so quick that even if you did a long exposure, it would be really hard to, unless if somebody is in the water moving it around for you to get the long exposure, and then it would still be kind of blurry with them moving around. So it's hard to do it justice, so you might as well just enjoy it. Yeah. I
think before I get into my recommendations for this, I do think that that's kind of great advice for travel in general, right?
Yes.
The last thing that you want to do is be so focused on capturing the shot so that you can show other people that you end up not getting that great of a picture. You also don't get to see it because you're only looking through the phone. You're stressed about the phone. You're stressed about the camera, what have you, right? Like, you're going on this trip for yourself.
Put the phone down a little bit, or camera down. That's a hard balance as someone who, like,
it is a hard balance.
I have to take photos for the blog and like Instagram and like all these things. And video nowadays with TikTok. It can be hard to find that balance, but it's so important to, take a few photos, take a video if you want to, and
look at it with your eyes.
Set the phone down or camera down and just watch it and enjoy it. That's so important.
All right, back to recommendations for the shark cage diving. You know yourself, right? I know myself. If you think that you may get motion sickness, even the slightest, like, oh, I don't know.
I mean, this applies for the Marine Big Five as well.
Yeah. Take motion sickness meds. I also had the motion sickness wristbands that had like a little bit of a pressure point on the inside of the wrist. I was golden this trip.
I will say the only time I've ever had motion sickness is on like roller coaster rides.
Okay.
So personally, what I've done in the past is I just don't eat, because I don't want to get sick. You know what I mean?
I was not risking anything.
And you know what this is just a hot take. I will never understand why they serve all these fried foods at amusement parks, fairs, etc. And then they put you on spinny rides and roller coasters after. Like, that is just a terrible combination.
I cannot do spinny rides at all.
Okay.
It's just, I mean, like, I don't do it.
But yes, motion sickness pills. If you know yourself, if you're someone who's prone to getting motion sickness, take some, Dramamine. Obviously, this isn't medical advice, but motion sickness, wristbands, anything that will help you in that situation.
Yeah. My other recommendation here for probably both of ours, going to Gansbaai, you may be based in Cape Town. It is a long day from Cape Town.
It's going to be most of your day.
It's about a 2.5 hour drive one way, right?
Yeah.
Very pretty, but it's a long day.
I will say that if you are going to do the garden route, which goes along like Hermanus and there's so many places, basically until Port Elizabeth, I think. I can't remember how far the garden route goes, but it basically goes along the coast of South Africa. You can add it as a stop if you don't want to do like a big trip, if you want to take a day trip from Cape Town.
I was going to say consider staying, right? If you want to base yourself in Cape Town and you want to just grab like an overnight bag or something for...
and stay in Hermanus, I've heard is...
you could either stay in Hermanus, you can stay in Gansbaai. I mean, there is a hotel that is a block from where we all met.
That's true.
I'm sure that you could arrange something to have your luggage stored in Cape Town with your hotel.
Kind of like how we did in Cusco.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So think of it that way, right? But yeah, just be prepared. It's a long day. Mm-hmm. All that being said, would you do the Marine Big Five again? You are back in Cape Town. You're not doing the garden route. Are you doing the Marine Big Five again?
No, because I think I would want to spend more time in Cape Town, because I feel like this last time we didn't spend that much time in Cape Town. We've been to Cape Town before, which helped. And I'm excited. I'm very happy for the things we did get to do in Cape Town. But if it was part of the garden route, 100% yes. Like if I was planning to do the garden route, I would stop in Hermanus and Gansbaai to do the Marine Big Five tour, because obviously it's going to be different every time.
Would you do the Marine Big Five or the shark cage diving?
Marine Big Five.
Over shark cage diving?
I'm actually really thankful I did that, because you see more wildlife.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
Would I go on the shark cage diving? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Like I mean,
they're beautiful animals. They're very smart.
Yeah.
You kind of get a newfound respect for them being that close to them.
Exactly.
Them.
Like this is an opportunity to get that close to them, which is with a marine biologist who's like walking you through the whole thing, which is awesome. Would I go again? I mean, is it awesome? Yes. But is it something where I'm like, look, if I am in South Africa, that is one thing I'm going to do.
Like if we were going to pass by anyway, yes.
If we
I'm
were
not
going to
go
pass by,
out of my way to do it again, because I've done both the shark cage diving and the Marine Big Five tour.
Right. And I think that just having done shark cage diving twice, I think I would be curious about the Marine Big Five tour.
It was great.
Yeah. I think that would be pretty cool. And like you said, I mean, Cape Town is an incredible city.
So great. Great food.
Oh my gosh.
Just lots of things to do.
Best cup of coffee in the world.
Fantastic coffee. We'll have to talk about that in another episode about revisiting Cape Town.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else to add?
I don't think so.
All
Go
right.
shark cage diving.
Or whale watching. Marine Big Five. It was fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic experiences that we had for that. But yeah, I think that's the end of that. Let us know your thoughts. You can always reach us on Twitter at WWHoneymoon, Instagram at Worldwide Honeymoon, or email kat@worldwidehoneymoon.com. We'd love to hear from you guys so much. It's always a lot of fun to get to chat. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to rate and review our podcast. It takes less than a few minutes and really helps other people find us. Also, if you're enjoying this awesome free information on both the blog and podcast, when you're booking your next trip, head over to worldwidehoneymoon.com/resources and use the links provided. We earn a small commission at no cost to you when you book through these links, and these are all brands and companies we know, love, and use, like Skyscanner for finding the best flight prices, World Nomads for the best travel insurance, TripAdvisor for hotel bookings and reviews, and even Amazon for all of your travel purchases.
Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Wherever you are, wherever you go, remember to make every day a worldwide honeymoon.